This sign marks the boundary to Dartmoor National Park. It's the largest and highest upland in southern Britain. Within its 368 square miles you'll find a diversity of landscapes from lush river valleys to bleak windswept uplands. Even in a car you can feel dwarfed by this vast expanse of changing scenery that's constantly exposed to high winds and heavy rains. Hundreds of cyclists converge on Haytor Down. They've come from across the country to protest against a new bylaw banning them from straying off bridle paths and designated cycle routes. It's turned an innocent activity into a crime. It's an example of a dilemma facing national parks the world over: how to conserve and keep a unique landscape accessible without destroying it in the process.
Cycling off-road is not damaging. It can be damaging in the wrong place, but we feel this is not the wrong place. The Dartmoor Commons actually are quite robust and will take low level of cycling activity, and that's all we're expecting of it.
The reason we're here is that we enjoy riding on Dartmoor, and the new laws are going to prevent us legally using the moor. We think this is really not on. It's always been something that we can do and we enjoy. We cause no damage. Erosion is quoted as a problem, but horse riding and other activities create much more problem.
So why is a healthy pastime that attracts both young and old being singled out for blame?
We're concerned about the potential for disturbing stock, the potential for disturbing other recreational users, and also the possibility that riders will in some circumstances cause damage to the ground itself, cause erosion.
But what about other activities on the moors? Critics of the ban say pony trekking is more destructive than cycling.
It's true, they don't cause more damage necessarily than walkers or riders or any of the other people using the park. Basically, Dartmoor is under a lot of pressure, and everyone's actions have some sort of an impact upon the ground.
That's cold comfort to these protesters, who see free access to the moors as a fundamental human right that's now been taken away. Only unicycles have escaped the ban, but then they're not exactly the most comfortable mode of transport when it comes to off-road riding. Ramblers already accept that you need restricted access to safeguard the moors.
We come up here because it's still an area of unspoilt natural beauty, and I feel that too many cyclists riding across the tracks will erode the tracks and spoil it for the rest of the people. There's problem enough with people walking and eroding the footpaths, but if people especially go off the paths, then it will spoil the natural environment.
Striking a balance between conservation and accessibility is a fine line to tread, especially when areas like Dartmoor so readily lend themselves to certain leisure activities. The two can be balanced. This group is taking advantage of the geology of the area to raise money for charity.
Well done.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much indeed.
But it's not just tourism that's posing a threat to the ecology of Dartmoor. China clay extraction is big business, and it's happening right on the doorstep of the national park. Show Moor already rumbles to the sound of heavy-duty trucks carrying hundreds of tons of spoil, but pressure's increasing to turn this wildlife haven into a spoil heap. For now, the wildlife seems happy to coexist with its commercial neighbours, but the scale of the quarrying operation and its close proximity to the national park is of grave concern to conservationists. Animal farming plays a key role in preserving the moorland. It's common grazing ground where sheep, cattle and horses have right of way, not motor cars or tourists. Yet the farming industry has been hit by recession. Dartmoor ponies were once big business. There were 50,000 of them grazing on the moor in the 1940s. Today that figure has dropped to around 3,000. Some animals are worth only the price of a bale of hay.
Adopt the prone and supported position.
The Ministry of Defence owns almost 33,000 acres on Dartmoor. The remoteness of the terrain makes it an ideal location for exercises and small arms training by the Army. Military activity and conservation may seem an unlikely alliance, yet it's one that's provided an ideal backdrop for military training.
Some would say that there's a conflict between what the Army do on Dartmoor versus its designation as a national park, an area of tranquil beauty. But in fact, there is a great similarity between our interests. We need wild open spaces. We want the naturalness. We want the farmed land with the sheep, because that's part of the terrain over which we might have to fight. The troops can fan out, they can attack, they can defend, they can ambush, they can carry out all of their manoeuvres. It's often been said that the Battle of the Falklands was won on the playing fields of Dartmoor. And looking at it, you can see how similar the land is. That bleakness, that openness, the bogs, the windswept weather. But there are times where the rain pours down and the weather can change in a fraction.
Military might and conservation can work together. Here the Territorial Army and Marines are building a bridge to make the park more accessible to visitors. It's in all our interest to preserve these unique landscapes. We can only do that if we work together.